All right, folks, you are back in with Off the Edge. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Cameron Lynch. We've talked trades, we've talked all that hoopla, but now we got to get back to the coaches because I think we actually, last time we were here, special thanks as always to Bleacher Report.
Yeah.
Last time we were here, Cam, we both thought it seemed a little crazy. It's probably not going to happen, but Mike Vrabel might actually be on the hot seat and might get fired. And we're not rooting for this, right? We don't root for that.
Caveat.
and let me just say this. I would not have fired Mike Vrabel. You don't find coaches like that very often that can just come in and have success and, just, basically sustain a culture.
Who'd he piss off in that front office, Jake? That's what right? Because you said it, like the coaches, the player coaches are really important, right? The coaches that have played before, right? DeMeco Ryans, we've seen this model. This is the new model. The Sean McVay model was the model, right? You got offensive-minded coach. He played in college. He's he's a great coach there. I think the new model now is going to be the DeMeco Ryans model. I mean, my man made the playoffs. He's a former player, right? You got Mayo at the Patriots, a former player, and Vrabel, I think, falls in that place as well. So I know we're going to go down our list here, Jake, and figure out where a good landing spot is for him. But I think that when you're a former player and you coach, I think this Gen Z and just this Gen Alpha, they're not listening to, a grandparent out there, bruh. Like they want somebody who's been through the fire and that's the same age as them. And so I do think some of the older coaches, you can get in legal trouble, Jake, if you talk about a coach who's older, you don't want to hire him. But I like that Bruce Arians model where you go and consult, that Pete Carroll, you go and consult, and you bring in that next person that's going to take over the helm. So like I said, I know we're going to go through our list, Jake, but I had to drop that a little bit before we got started.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And, it's funny. First comment we got, Dallas coach next year, go. So
perfect. Who's it? Car Rangers? Yeah, I like that.
So I normally go in order alphabetically because I don't know. I have, I don't know, OCD about that stuff.
You gotta give people what they want, though,
But I guess we just got to skip right to the Cowboys because that was our first commenter. Yeah. So let's do that. The Dallas Cowboys. Cam, who you riding with for the head coach?
So I kind of gave it away a little bit, Jake. I was like, hey, the older gentleman, you kind of, hey, do the consulting role, and then you get the younger guys a chance, right? And when I was playing, Jake, I realized, LeBron James and Tom Brady are the caveats. Bill Belichick, I think, is getting to that point where he's a Tom Brady and LeBron James. So it's like, all right, when are you going to retire? So if you don't want to retire, you be a consultant. So for the Cowboys, Jake, I actually have Mike Vrabel going there. We talked about that former player mentality.
Okay.
I think that's really important. John Fossil, he got special teams. The NFLPA coaches card, right? The players vote on it. And they had John Fossil, special teams coach, I think top 1 or top 5. Look at my list here. He was number 1. And so you bring in another coach that is kicking ass and Vrabel there, I think the players are going to listen, right? I think Michael Parsons is going to play even harder because Vrabel played ball before. So Michael Parsons can relate to that. So I think you get a coach in there that's played the game before and you take it to the next level, Jake. And I think you need someone to tell Jerry Jones, shut the hell up. Sorry, Jerry. But, at the same time, I think what the Cowboys, their issue right now, is it the players, right? Dak Prescott's playing the best ball he's ever played. It's not the players. I think it's above their head right now. I think it's coaching. I think it starts from the top. They have the number 1 owner, the number 1 sports team in the world. I just don't think they're performing that way. And they need someone that can say, hey, Jerry, I get you love this team, but this is my team. I'm a former player and I can lead these guys to victory. Trust me. And so I think they need someone that can do that. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a great hire, but I don't think it's going to happen because
what do you think?
Here's what I think. Okay, I think Jerry Jones, after all these years, they haven't made a division. They haven't won a divisional round game,
Jerry,
since I was born. Right, I'm 28, so you got to do something a little bit different, right? Let me just say this: the first hand, you could say, go after Sean McVay type of, 30-year-old young coach. And maybe that's Bobby
Snapper.
But honestly, we know what this guy can do when he has a quarterback. And we know what he can do when he doesn't have a quarterback. He still brought him to the playoffs. I'm going to say Bill Belichick ends up in Dallas, which means we both think Mike McCarthy's getting fired. Yeah. And look, it's sad because I genuinely think he's a solid coach, but this is just the way it is. You're the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys and you get embarrassed at home after being undefeated all year. You get embarrassed at home in the playoffs. I mean, Jordan Love looks like Aaron Rodgers. The same.
Yeah, Suns fan 721 Jake. He said the same thing that you said. He commented at 1007, said Bill Belichick head coach, Vrabel DC. How about them boys?
Hey, I mean that'd be fun. But look, I gotta say, I'd be rooting for Bill.
Will they get along? Will him and will they get along though? That's my thing. Will Bill? Will they it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, Jake, right? And so that's my thing. Will they get along? Will they butt heads? I know him and Kraft got along, but when he gets to Jerry Jones, well, what's that going to look like?
I'll say this. I think Jerry would back off a little bit. I think that would be him kind of turning over a new leaf and be like, you know what? We got a legendary head coach in Bill Belichick. We're going to bring back Dak Prescott, who honestly was playing at an MVP level. We have a good team around us. Bill can go out and get one of those guys from New England that will follow him from Mayo's staff and make him a defensive coordinator. So he keeps the same, influence. He keeps the same, philosophical, outlook on his defense and his offense and all of that. And I think Bill would be great. I really do. I think, people are way too quick to just give it all to Tom Brady. And Tom Brady is arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, but Bill is arguably the greatest head coach of all time.
Yeah. And my thing is Jimmy Johnson, though, right? Like, are we going to have another situation? Thank God he forgave him, put him in the Ring of Honor, right? But I just don't want another one of those situations where the ego gets in the way. And like I said, Bill's getting older, so I don't think he needs that ego, man. So, we'll see here. But I like it, Jake. Someone said Bill Belichick is head coach and Vrabel is DC. I would like to move that up. Bill is the consultant. And Vrabel is the head coach, and Bill can just say, hey, I want this player, I want that player, run this play, run that play, or whatever he wants to do, Bill. Do your thing, 21, like Bruce Arians. But I kind of like that combo. So,
yeah. I mean, look, if Bill goes anywhere else, it'll be the Falcons. It's the only place he's interviewed, and the Falcons only interviewed him.
Okay.
So we'll keep an eye on that one. And that would be kind of funny because, anytime you go to an organization to be a head coach against a team that you beat in the Super Bowl, that's going to be weird.
That's a setup. I think that's a setup, Jake, because the Saints actually worked me out towards the end of my career. I had not many calls, and the Saints worked me out to the very end. I think they were going to say, hey, let's stick it to you towards your end of your career. We're going to work you out. We're going to cut your ass because you jacked us up all year when I was playing for the Buccaneers. So, Jake, I think they're very finicky petty with that, Jake. Yeah, they're very petty, bro, because they'll be like, yeah, let me hire you. You crushed me all my whole life. You made us in a laughing stock of the NFL. Let me hire you and embarrass you once you get over here because I can fire your ass. So I don't know about it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, no, we'll see. Now doing something that's against my OCD, we're gonna go backwards with the alphabet here. We're gonna go with the Chargers here. And Cam, I got Jim Harbaugh. He interviewed with them. I think, obviously you just won a national title. And I personally, I think he wanted to stay until they won the national title. There was a quote a while ago, there's I'll never go any other place to coach or whatever. I forget exactly what it was, but I never bought it. I really think Jim just wanted to get over the hump and actually win the national title for Michigan. And he did. And now, after a 14-0 season, in the previous format, because we're moving over to a 12-team playoff, I just don't think you can really top that. So I think, with guys like J.J. McCarthy and, Blake Corum and all these guys that are going into the draft, I think this is the time to leave. And he has a great coaching staff. They'll be able to promote from within. But I think Jim Harbaugh is going to end up being the Chargers head coach. And I think, a former quarterback in his own right, but a quarterback-minded guy that worked with Andrew Luck, I think he's going to be perfect for Justin Herbert, who I don't think has a ton of work left to do, but I think it's going to be an emphasis on the fact, look, they went out and got defensive coordinator Brandon Staley to be their head coach. Having more of an offensive mind there is going to keep Justin Herbert first. They're not going to allow guys like, nothing against Trey Pipkins, but you kind of want a little bit more protection for your franchise quarterback. And
no big deal.
I think that emphasis is going to be there with Jim Harbaugh. So I like the fit, and it's already kind of coming together because he's interviewed there and the rumors are there, and sounds like the Chargers want him. So that's where I think he goes.
That's a great one. I see some of the polls saying he'll stay at Michigan. I know he mentioned this, Jake. He said, now I can sit at the big boy table, right, with my brothers and my dad because I won me a championship. I think that's really important. Another thing I will say is for Jim Harbaugh, the NCAA is going to be on his back, right? No matter what. Once he leaves once the championship is done, he's going to get a call. Hey, we need to talk to you, whatever that is. So I know he hired Tom Brady's agent, so he's ready to rock and roll. Jake, my thing is this for Jim Harbaugh. I could see him going to the Chargers, right? Like I said, people say, hey, Bill Belichick going to the Chargers, bring him in as a consultant. But Jim Harbaugh being there is great. What about Kellen Moore? I mean, he's been on that staff. He's a former quarterback. He's a offensive guy. So maybe just elevate him and see what happens there. That's my other option, is having Kellen Moore go there. And then also, Jake, Kellen Moore going back to the Cowboys. He played for the Cowboys. So why not bring a former Cowboy back to that team? So I just want to throw in there Kellen Moore being elevated to that head coaching position. He's walked the walks. I think that's really important. He's walked the walk. And so I think that'd be really good for the organization and really good for Justin Herbert. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback, man. Get somebody back there that can talk his language. I think that's extremely important. Just like you said, get an offensive-minded coach that can help develop him. So those are my thoughts there on the Chargers. I don't know what you think about Kellen Moore. Should we move on from that whole coaching regime, right? What do you think?
I don't think Kellen Moore deserves to lose his job or anything like that. I just don't think I don't know, a leader of men, I'd want Jim Harbaugh over Kellen Moore. You know what I mean? Like, I've watched Kellen Moore in pressers. It's not like he's Sean McVay. You know what I mean? Like, he could be a head coach someday, but he's not somebody that I'm like dying to. Like, it's not like with Washington, you let all those guys go to keep Jay Gruden. Like, Jim Harbaugh, we know, has succeeded in the NFL. He succeeded with Stanford. He succeeded with Michigan. This is his best coaching job, in my opinion. That's saying a lot because he was great with the 49ers. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is, I think when you look at just like, because people ask, why is he leaving, right? Why would Jim Harbaugh leave? I'll tell you why. And some people aren't going to like this. College head coaches have to do more than NFL head coaches. Yeah, it's a tougher job.
You got to do school and stuff. You got to make sure everybody passes their test and goes to class.
I mean, think about this, right? Sean McVay has coached Aaron Donald since 2017, right? So 7 years of his coaching career, he's at Aaron Donald, for instance. That's not college. You lose your best player regardless. 3-4 years, he's gone. On top of that, you got to keep, recruiting.
Yeah.
And you have to find, you have to create a recruiting staff. You have to have a coaching staff. You have to manage these players. You only can lose one game a year, if even. It's not easy.
No. And the NCAA's on his back too, bro. That's not the move. I'm sure he's getting a little bit older, and he's like, man, I kind of want to ride off into the sunset on this one. And I know the poll said Kellen Moore. I appreciate you putting that up, Alex. For the reason why I say Kellen Moore is because on the NFLPA report card, the players ranked him top 5 offense coordinators. And so for multiple players, to be like, yo, Kellen Moore, top 5, put him up there. I think he's leading somebody. He's leading somebody named Mama because the players were like, hey, I'm putting him down. So, regardless if he's a great leader or not, the players recognize him. And as long as, and I think, who said this about Bill Belichick? It was Danny Amendola. Somebody said, hey, we work for Bill Belichick, but we play for Tom Brady. And I think these players are saying the same thing. Hey, you might be a coach, you might be the best ever, but you are a manager. You're a people manager, but we're playing for certain people, right? We get hurt, and NFL is 100% injury. We're going to play for people that we want to get hurt for. Bill Belichick is not that guy, bub. So I think Kellen Moore, former player, guys are going to play for people like him. So I think that's really important to think about when we think about these coaches. So owners, take note, please. Don't be getting no lottie-dottie just because they got a certain name. No, get somebody who these Gen Zers and Gen Alphas can actually relate to, bro. Who knows how to work TikTok, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, remember, it was like all the old heads were all upset that Sean McVay, age 30, got a head coaching job, and they're like, oh, it's going to fail, and they were calling him a 12-year-old. Jason Whitlock, definitely.
Go figure.
Yeah, he was calling him a 12-year-old boy, and he said Scott Tolzien or Phil Tolzien is going to run roughshod to the Rams in Sean McVay's first game, and the Rams ended up winning 46-9 or whatever. So yeah, nice job there. But But yeah,
you're not that guy, bub.
No, you're not. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. But yeah, so it's one of those things where you look at McVay and you're like, okay, all these people said, he couldn't do it. He's been like a trailblazer. You know what I mean? He's kind of like the Russell Wilson to short quarterbacks. Like now all of a sudden, short quarterback. Like, do you really think Kyler Murray would have been drafted #1 overall back 10 years before? No. Russell Wilson is why he was drafted #1 overall.
Thank God for Lamar Jackson, the quarterbacks that should be receivers, and now quarterbacks. Like, thank God for Lamar. You're just breaking molds and breaking ceilings for these silly folks out there. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah. So McVay broke the ceiling, but I'm not going to go with one of those guys. I'm going to go with upcoming here with the commies, as they call them, the Commanders.
Hold on, be careful. Hold on.
No, it's just a short way of saying their name and nickname.
I don't want to play like that.
hey, I'll say this right now. You and I could both agree. The Commanders have this new ownership I'm really excited about. It's this ownership group. I think it's bringing in like this. I want to say like more of like this open thought. I mean, think about it. They were so closed-minded like before.
Yeah.
With Dan Snyder. But I feel like now
brutal.
I mean, anybody will say it, but I feel like now I feel like they're going to go out and they're going to get a culture changer. They're going to get a guy that, speaking of a trailblazer, I think it's going to benefit, even though he's already been a head coach. He's going to benefit from the fact that everyone's seeing the job that DeMeco Ryans is doing in Houston, which you and I saw from a mile away. We constantly gave him his props.
Bro, playoffs, beat the Browns, beat the brakes off the Browns. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
But I'll say this right now. Raheem Morris, I think, is going to be the head coach in Washington. He was in Washington. He's a former coach there. But I just think people forget what Raheem Morris did in Tampa. He had a bad first year when they had no talent. And then they, no talent, not even like young talent, like no talent, like a bunch of veterans that weren't very good at football. And then the next year, Cam, he wins 10 games. He is the only coach since the merger to win 10 games with 10 entirely new offensive or 10 entirely new rookies starting. Mm-hmm. So that's the most rookies that started that, he turned into a 10-win season. So look, I think Raheem Morris would be great. People are going to say, oh, he's not that great, whatever. I'm not talking about his defense, which, by the way, he's a top 10 defensive coordinator, if not top 5. Look at what he did this year with not a lot of talent around him. But this is what I'm going to say. I want a culture changer. And if you are complaining, if you're a Commanders fan and you're complaining about the opportunity to get
Commanders fans are in the chat like, Raheem Morris, what?
Yeah.
Go get him, Jake. Tell him why, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, if you're complaining, why would you not want to kind of, make do for the wrong? Let Sean McVay out the door. I mean, it crippled your team. You didn't only let Sean McVay out the door. You let him, you let Bobby Slowick, you went Matt LaFleur, you went Kyle Shanahan, Ejiro Evero. I mean, the list goes on.
Jake, why you doing like that, Jake? No, don't crush him like that, Jake.
Well, so now you can make up for it. You can go and get that Sean McVay culture and inject it into the team. And that's how you do it with Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris embodies that, the we not me style. He is so great that every single defensive player that I've talked to in the Rams organization, I've talked to quite a few, they love him. They swear by him. Look at Jalen Ramsey on Twitter pounding the stump for him to be a head coach, saying he's the best coach he's ever been around. I mean, come on now. That is huge praise.
The chat's saying different now. The chat's saying Ben Johnson. Somebody said, I'd rather the guy who beat Raheem Morris out for the Lions rather than Raheem Morris. And what I'll say to that is if the Lions go to the Super Bowl, Jake, I got the Ravens and the Lions in the Super Bowl, and I said it, so I'm blue in the face. If they go to the Super Bowl, why not keep that staff together? That's my thought process. Why not keep that staff together? Aaron Glenn for the Lions. He could be up for some head coaching spots too. But if you got or you'll be like the Eagles, whatever you want. Get rid of your coordinator if you want to, and you'll be like the Eagles this year and you'll be pissed off. I mean, the Eagles fans on this chat, you can tell us how you feel. We'll talk about it later. But when you change a chef, when your dad or your auntie cooks instead of your mom or your dad, you're like, dang, auntie cooking again. Why would you get different coordinators and different chefs for your team? So if this Lions teams go to the Super Bowl, which I have them doing, keep the crew together. I think that'll be really important, Jake. And then for the Washington Commanders, you talk about culture changer. Well, what about Jim Harbaugh? I mean, he's down the block from his brother. The Baltimore is not far. It's with FedEx Field, and that Baltimore Ravens Stadium is not far. Jim Harbaugh's getting a little bit older, right? So he's gonna get to that 50, that 60 range. Well, hey, right off into the sunset, go meet your brother for lunch throughout the week. Monday and Tuesday, you're off. Go meet your brother. Have your parents meet you, bro. Like that makes more sense to me. For Jim Harbaugh to go there and be with his brother if he leaves Michigan. So I wanted to throw that in there, Jake. I know we mentioned Raheem Morris. Some folks are talking about Ben Johnson. I say no to Ben Johnson because if they win the Super Bowl, why would you break them up? So I'm saying Jim Harbaugh, be down the street from your brother. That's what I say, Jake. I don't know if you have any thoughts to chat. If you like, hey, no Jim Harbaugh to get him out of here. We don't want those legal problems. That's okay too. Just let me know. Talk to me now.
I mean, I'll say this. For the people saying Raheem Morris lost to Ben Johnson, that was one game in Detroit by 1 point.
How you feel about that, Jake? How you feel about that?
Well, you know how I feel about it. I mean, we all saw, as Sean McVay said, we all saw it with the Puka Nacua again, his jersey grabbed. I mean, that was the whole game, but even on the last play. But anyway, here's what I'm going to say, okay? Raheem Morris has won a Super Bowl. Ben Johnson hasn't won anything. Yeah, they won a wild card game, which they think is their Super Bowl, but they won one game. So let's keep it in perspective. Raheem Morris won a Super Bowl. He slowed down Joe Burrow. He slowed down Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon. That team, everyone was on that train.
Respect
they were like,
name,
wow, and yeah, I'm kind of tired of honestly the Raheem Morris hate. It's like, look, this guy is a good defensive coordinator, but he's an even better person and leader. That's exactly who you want.
Yeah, he's top 5, Jake, top NFLPA report card. Hey, fans, it doesn't matter. I mean, we can think what we think as fans, but the players spoken. They have him at number 5 on his report card. So the players are going to play for him. And Jake, at the beginning of the year, I think so after the Damar Hamlin issue, all the coaches got trained through the American Heart Association. They got trained to figure out how to conduct CPR. And he did that they're in the offseason before the season started. So I'm going to the Rams game and I see he's up there being honored because he's a superhero, bruh. So with Jake, what you're saying, I'm backing you up. He's a superhero. He can coach his ass off. He's a Super Bowl champ. So why not go there with Eric Bieniemy, right? And Magic Johnson.
What did Ben Johnson do in that second half exactly? 3 points?
I'll wait.
3 points?
To be fair, though, Raheem Morris, Jake, I'll talk about this. Michael Hoyt covering Amon-Ra St. Brown and who is it? Sam Ford in the end zone. Jake, I told you that was a catalyst for the Rams, bro. They scored on that play, and Amon-Ra St. Brown broke a 30-yard run, and that pissed me off, Jake. So, we'll talk about that later on our I Believe in Rams show. But, Jake, they didn't do well in the second half. The Lions team didn't, and it's unfortunate, but, hey, the Lions keep winning, and, hey, Dan Campbell, good job for you, my bro.
Yeah. Eagles, Nick Sirianni, does he stay? Does he go? I'm going to say I don't know. I'm going to say it's either he stays or we see Mike Vrabel. I think that would be a good spot for him. Going in alphabetical, so hopefully no one leaves. We got the Eagles, Falcons, Panthers, Raiders, Seahawks, and Titans. So we'll get to your team. If we already said your team and you missed it, I had the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh. You had the Chargers, Kellen Moore.
Yep.
And then I had the Cowboys.
That's a suggestion.
Bill Belichick. You had Cowboys.
Vrabel or Kellen Moore. Or Kellen Moore because he played quarterback there.
And then Commanders, I had Raheem Morris, and you had Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, as an option because he's down the street from his brother.
And then, so now we're on the Eagles. So I'm going to say Nick Sirianni or Mike Vrabel. I think that's the decision there. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep him. I mean, he was in a Super Bowl, last year. But at the same time, not winning a Super Bowl. And, Doug Peterson won the Super Bowl and they fired him not long after. So, they pushed Andy Reid out. I mean, look, that's just – it is not easy to be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And
one of the strongest fan bases, Jake, outside the Cowboys, outside the Raiders and the 49ers, is one of the strongest fan bases that I played against and that I've been a part of. Jake, I worked at the NFL, and the stories that the NFL staff tell about the Eagles fans after some of those championships and those player buses, because like when the player – so I've heard that some of the player buses have gotten compromised, and the NFL staff, they have to respond to that. So while I was working there, they'd be like, bruh, hey, them Eagles fans, don't mess with them. Don't mess with them. I got family that are in Philly, so shout out to y'all. Hey, fly Eagles fly. Y'all are gangsta over there.
I have never had to deal with that. But
I mean, I got stories about fan bases, Jake. I got stories about fan bases. So
yeah, we'll get to one of the teams that you had a story about with their fans, their kid fans flipping you off.
Oh yeah, bro, brutal. And to be honest, I think we talk about the Eagles, Nick Sirianni. I think he stays, Jake. I think the coordinators, I think they just get stronger. I mean, they're rookie coordinators, bro. Like, what do you expect? Like I said, it's like getting a older sibling to cook when they haven't cooked a family meal during Thanksgiving. It's like, hey, mom or dad cooks these, bro. Why are you cooking it? And so, they're rookies, and it's okay. Jalen Hurts has been hurt a little bit this year, and AJ Brown. It's unfortunate, Jake. I said it, bro. I was like, hey, they were beefing at the beginning of the year, and I said it's gonna hurt them in the playoffs. And AJ Brown wasn't playing. I'm not sure what his injury was. It probably could have been injury, or he's like, you know what? I'm not rocking with y'all, and y'all don't respect me, and you're gonna see, y'all gonna struggle, and we're gonna find out. And so they did. It got smoked by the Buccaneers, and I just think they need to tighten up the ship over there at the Eagles. I don't know if folks in the chat, feel free to share thoughts on the Eagles, but that's piss poor, bro. Sorry, but it's piss poor. It's not good by them.
No, I agree. I think I saw the Saints come up in the comment section. They just fired their OC. I don't know why. They were one of the hottest offenses at the end of the year. I'll say this before we get into the Falcons here, sticking with the NFC South. I don't know how you bring back Dennis Allen. I don't. I watch him. That guy is not a good head coach. And I mean, going back to the Raiders, I don't have to tell you that. I mean, what, you won 8 games total? Some guys are coordinators. He's a coordinator. We'll see what ends up happening with the Saints. Maybe more guys come available, and then the Saints are like, okay, we're going to fire Dennis Allen now, but they haven't done so yet. The Giants aren't firing Dable. The Bears are keeping Eberflus, which I can't even believe. But let's move on to the Falcons here.
Well, the Saints, what did you say for the Saints, Jake? You said they found their coordinator. Okay, got it.
They fired their coordinator. Okay. The only thing that was working for them at the end of the year with them.
I mean, they allowed Jameis to run that play. So the coordinator and Dennis Allen, they probably were beat. I'm very curious about that, and that kind of pissed me off, Jake. What Jameis did, and my wife was like, "Why would you be mad? Like, why don't you just run it up on your division rival?" And I was like, "Yeah. But it's bigger than that. It's a relationship business. So you can't just go and embarrass people. Like, I mean, you can, but not when you all know, like, hey, let's be gentlemen here. And I think they kind of crossed that line a little bit. And I think I'm sure the owners were like, hey, bro, like, are you good over there? Like, we do business together. This is a 32 collective. And so we want to win and lose, but we don't want to slaughter people. And so there's been a couple slaughterings this year, bro. The Dolphins and the Broncos, there's been a lot of there's been a lot of drama. So it's been getting juicy. But man, it's I don't know what's going on over there. If I'm the coordinator, Jake, and it makes sense. It does and it doesn't. Hey, but they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
I wouldn't say it makes sense, man.
That makes sense. Sorry.
Points at the end of the year.
The Jameis situation, I think, was probably the straw that broke the camel's back, maybe. So I'm curious, like, what the hell happened over there?
Yeah, I don't know, but the Falcons here. Bill Belichick right now is considered the favorite by a lot of people. I believe even betting odds have him as the favorite. I'm going to go in a different direction, Cam. I'm going to stick with the NFC South. I'm going to go to a team that they actually had to prepare against. I'm going to say Ejiro Evero, the defense coordinator for the Panthers. And what he did this year without any semblance of an offense, okay? That defense was left on an island. And what he did, they stayed competitive in games where their quarterback, and with all due respect, I'm a big Bryce Young fan. I think they're going to figure it out with him. Yeah. But, I mean, that man was left on an island. But then the defense was left on an island. So you watch this poor kid is throwing 3-yard passes. He's averaging 3 yards on the day, has 99 yards going in the fourth quarter, and this defense has him in by a possession. And like they're in the game, and you're like, how is that possible? Ejiro Evero. It's the same guy who all of a sudden, the Broncos defense was incredible with him last year, despite the fact that, the offense was terrible. Once again, left him on an island. He was with the Rams 2017 to, I believe, 2020.
Excellent. Wade Phillips.
Very well liked. Very well liked.
I love it.
Also, another Washington guy that let go. So,
Jake, why you keep taking shots at the chat? Like, that's Jack.
Another one. Evero would be great for the Falcons because I think we get so caught up in, offensive minded, defensive minded, all this. Do you know how many offensive coordinator candidates that Ejiro Evero, who's cross paths with the Broncos and Nate Hackett's staff, and he's cross paths with Sean McVay, and he's cross paths with Thomas Brown and Tabor and all these different guys, right? Like and I feel to me like he's going to be able to go out. Maybe he goes out and gets Zach Robinson from the Rams, or, he brings somebody over from the Panthers or somebody over from his previous stop with the Broncos. But I am all about finding a culture changer and a leader. And don't let Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan have you caught up in the fact we need an offensive-minded coach, because that's not entirely true. No. I mentioned how it helps, like Jim Harbaugh. Like, to me, there is a serious issue right now. Justin Herbert is not going to last his career if he keeps getting hit the way he does. So it's good to have a former quarterback looking over his shoulder and like being there for him. But this is a clean slate. This is a team that went 0-8 in the last 8 games of the year. They gave up 2,500 yards receiving, right? Brutal. So I look at it this way.
Jake's like, what else I need to say here?
I look at it this way, okay? Sorry, that was the Commanders. Never mind. The Falcons, they got rocked at the end. They don't have a quarterback, right? They don't have a quarterback.
Taylor Heineke ended up playing, like we said, and they need a premium quarterback. I mean, do they trade for that first spot in the draft? Like, they got to figure this out, bro, because the Falcons, it ain't looking good, bro.
I mean, everyone keeps saying how Justin Fields is staying in Chicago, and I'm not convinced. If Justin Fields is traded, I'd like to see him go to the Falcons.
Agree, but I don't think he's going to I think they're going to draft a quarterback. I don't think Fields. I mean, those fans were rooting for Justin Fields. DJ Moore is saying we want Justin Fields, and bro, when you go against what the people say, shame. So hey,
we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
I said shame. But Jake, for me, Falcons, really quick. I like Raheem Morris for that Falcons head coaching job. And I just went to his spot really quick. So he started the Buccaneers 2002 through 2005. So he's in that division. Then he went to Kent State and then back to the Buccaneers 2007 through 2011. And he was the head coach there. So he's been whipping on that division for a long time. Then went back to the Falcons 2015 through 2020. That's 5 years. And then went to the Rams in 2021. So he been there, done that. He is Atlanta. Yeah. Raheem Morris, he's great for that city, great for that culture, and why not bring him back there? Didn't win a Super Bowl this year, and not, it's unfortunate. Went to the playoffs, which is great. Why not go to Atlanta, Jake, and go make a run? Go get you a quarterback that you really love, a quarterback that's going to win you some games. Get an offensive coordinator, Jake. Hey, Ben Johnson's available. Like people are saying, go get him. You beat me, that's okay, right? When a lot of times it's like that hating that love. And when you hate your rival, a lot of times, okay, well, if their enemy is their enemy and you team up, then your rival is now your partner. And so I think you got to think about that a lot of times in the NFL. Just because you beef or you battle, that doesn't mean once that whistle blows, you can't be teammates. And so why not get a great offensive coordinator and go win some football games, Raheem Morris at the Falcons? So get you a quarterback and we'll see what happens.
I'm not against that. I think that would be a good spot for Raheem. I like the Commanders. I think that's what's going to happen. But we'll see.
Either one.
I feel like Raheem's overdue. I feel like Evero's overdue. Let's move on to the Panthers since we're talking so much about them.
Yeah.
This is where I have Ben Johnson going because I think Tepper, who, by the way, should probably sell the team. He's not a good owner. Probably not a good person either, to be honest with you. The way
Hey.
he was throwing drinks around. But anyway.
Oh, you threw that drink? That was crazy, bro.
I know, man. Imagine having all that money and then letting a fan get that much under your skin and throwing a drink at him. I mean, come on.
Are we four, sir? You know, like that's the thing though, too, bro. Like I'm doing Tai Chi now, Jake, and they talk about your emotions. Control your emotions or they'll control you. And that wasn't a good look, bro. I mean, if I'm a former player, I don't want to go to that organization. Oh, y'all treat the fans this way, so y'all gonna treat the players. How do you think they're treating the players if he's treating the fans that way? That's my big question. And so, yeah, bro, thank you for bringing that up because that kind of pissed me off. That pissed me off. Not kind of, it did.
Doesn't it feel like we're playing a game of Survivor, and it's like every year there's just this one owner that needs to be eliminated from the island?
Like character, just be nice, bro. Just be a nice human being, and like people will love you. But if you're not nice, then people know this in this chat, bro. Like we work hard, bro. Life is too tough to be mean to people like that. If you're an owner, you're making millions of dollars. You own pretty much half of North Carolina, and you're pouring a drink on somebody that you probably own, on somebody who's working hard, bro. Like, come on, man. You can't do that. You can't do that. So
I feel bad here. Ashamed to be a Panthers fan right now with Temper owning the team. David Temper. That's funny. I like that. So this is my rationale behind my head coaching candidate here. Tepper knows they're in deep you know what. Okay. They spent a lot to go out and get Bryce Young. He cannot fail or they're going to go into a dark age. Yeah. So what is the one thing that can get anybody to go there, even if it's not a great situation? And I disagree.
Be nice.
I disagree that it's like people act like it's not a great situation. I disagree with that. Because you get a young franchise quarterback who kind of like Jared Goff struggled. Sean McVay comes in. Now he looks like the hero, right? Mm-hmm. So you get a chance. Like it's almost like a bump up in your resume immediately if you fix this guy. And if you don't, you could just say, he sucks, you know? But I'm going to say this right now. I think that he is going to want to go to different places, but ultimately the money is going to be too good. The Panthers are going to roll out the dough. They're going to bring on the Brinks truck for Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is going to come in and play the Sean McVay role with Jared Goff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's going to happen, you know? And I think we're going to see Bryce Young turn it around. We're going to see this Panthers team turn it around, but I think that's what's going to happen. He turned down the Panthers last year. I don't think he'll do it again. I think that, you know, he's leaving, by the way. Like there are Lions fans that are still trying to act like he's not. He's leaving. He didn't leave last year because he wanted to do what they're doing now. But he's leaving once this season ends. Just like Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley left the Rams in 2020. He is leaving. So my thing is, I think when you look at the Panthers and the fact that Tepper knows that this can't fail or they're screwed, he's going to just roll out the dough. Like there's going to be so much money. He's going to be the highest paid coach in this circuit because then that's thought have to do because of just the poor way that he owns the team and manages the team and runs the team. So I think that this year, I think Ben Johnson ends up being the Panthers head coach.
Carolina, everybody? Yeah, everybody said he didn't turn down the Panthers job. He turned down interviews from multiple teams. And someone said Stacy said, didn't Ben Johnson turn down the Panthers job last year? Why would he go back after the Tepper mess? You just mentioned that, Jake. I agree, bro. We just talked about it. After when someone said, I'll get a drink thrown on me for $300K. Yeah, bro. I'm sure Ben Johnson and his family's like, hey, you went to the Lions, you were in a great organization, they treated you well. It's like having like abusive partner or something like that. Not to like joke about this, but you go to the Panthers and your partner's abusive. They're throwing drinks on you, they're slapping you on the face every night, Jake. You wake up every day and have to deal with this every day. Or you can stay with someone who treats you well. You can stay with someone who's going to take you out to dinner every week, say you look pretty, say you look handsome. That's what I want. I want peace at night. And I don't know if Ben Johnson's going to find that peace there. And so my thing for the Panthers, Jake, is what does it look like for one of these offensive coordinators, maybe Frank Smith from the Dolphins? That's my suggestion. Frank Smith, I know that someone said in the chat, they hung up 70 points on the Broncos. I know with the head coach there, he's a great offensive mind, but Frank Smith, he has to be a part of some of that genius. So why not give some of these coordinators, Frank Smith ranked number one on the NFLPA offensive coordinator sheet. He was number one for the players. He was number one. So why not give him a shot? If the players thinks he's great, why not give him a shot somewhere? And like I said, man, The Dolphins are clicking this year. Why not give the number one guy an opportunity somewhere? And so, so Frank Smith, giving him opportunity, see what happens, see what he can do with Bryce Young, with Tua Tagovailoa, throwing that ball across the yard. So Bryce Young deserves an offensive coordinator that's number one ranked by the players. And so that's my suggestion. Ben Johnson, like someone said in the chat, you want to be at peace. Frank Smith, coming from the Dolphins, right? Brian Flores was there. They have their own issues. So go to the Panthers and go win some football games. So that's my suggestion, Jake. I don't know what you think about that. Someone said Frank Smith, yuck.
I would not do that. I would go with Ben Johnson, or I would actually promote from within and go with Ejiro Evero. I think someone mentioned it. They were the fourth defense overall. It's not a bit like exactly to their point, Mr. Fabulous 84. I totally agree. This job isn't as bad as people are saying, but the owners, the owner's actions will cost him dollars. Like, he's going to have to spend a ton to get one of the top guys to come here. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to spend a lot of money, but moving on, Cam, we got the Raiders. I think you and I are going to agree on this one because, look, Max Crosby said it. Like, he doesn't even want to be with the Raiders if they let him go. And to be fair, let's go back to this for a second. The Raiders are now on their second interim coach in 3 years. Rich Bisaccia was their interim head coach, and they played well. And the fans and the players signed off on him. They let him go. This is different. Antonio Pierce had a completely different vibe with that team than Bisaccia. Bisaccia was a fun story, but you knew he wasn't. It was kind of like, Bones Fossil. You knew he wasn't going to get that shot, whether he should have or not. But Antonio Pierce is one of those up and coming guys. Wasn't that long ago he was playing linebacker in the NFL.
There you go.
So I think, to me, with to your point with the Gen Z and all that, and the increased kind of push for these younger coaches, Antonio Pierce to me is kind of a no-brainer. The Raiders already have him in-house. He only, I think, had one other interview with the Titans, but yeah, don't let him leave.
Jake, our generation, we are content creators for jobs now. We're not doing the government jobs, postal. My dad was a postal inspector. He worked at the post. We're doing content now. We need people who can relate to that. We don't need someone to be like, content. Well, no, and get up D'Amico Ryan's model, the Mayo model. We need somebody who's played the game before. You heard the player say, "I'm not playing for y'all if y'all don't bring back my coach." The coach who played before, who has an attitude, I'm not coming back here. And so I don't know. Are former linebackers the head coaching model now, Jake? I don't know. You tell me, bruh. But at the end of the day, players want to play for badasses. They want to play for people who are willing to go to war. And I think that's really important. So if you're not willing to go to war, if you're not willing to put those cleats on during practice and go put a helmet on, Bill Belichick, I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying, players want to know if you're willing to go through the fire with them. If you're not, get out. So I don't know what you think about that, but AP, the whole chat saying, hey, AP, he deserves it. And we need more minority coaches to be head coaches anyways, bro. He's already there. Give him the job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I'd fight people on that, because here's what you can do. You give him a year, and if it was just like a half-year wonder, okay, get rid of him. If it doesn't work out, get rid of him. But give him that opportunity this upcoming year. Because here's the thing. If the players weren't advocating for it, fine. But now you have no excuse. Like, you got your number one player on your team, Max Crosby, who is just absolutely vocal about this guy. You can't piss off Crosby twice. I totally agree with that comment. That is a great way to put it. Let's move on. Seahawks. Okay. They made a surprising. That is not somebody we had on our bingo card. Pete Carroll.
Well, he moved to consultant. Pete is smart. He's like, you know what, guys? I know I'm getting a little bit older. I'm young, but I'm going to move to consultant. Bruce Arians. I'm not going to get embarrassed by y'all. I'm going to move to consultant. He's smart, bro. He's a team guy, bro. That's why people love Pete, bro. Come on.
But you know what he said, though? It was that it sounded like the non-football guys started making the decisions.
That's what Pete said?
Yeah, like analytics maybe is kind of, maybe it's like an order 66 type of deal with analytics,
bro. But that's
chopping
so
off the heads of all the old heads.
Jake, I know we talked about baseball, Jake. You talk about Tampa Bay, the Rays. I would live in Tampa, and the Rays took out Snell, I think it was, during the playoffs. They took him out because of analytics said it, and they lost the game. And people were like, bro, why would you take out one of your best pitchers because of analytics, bro? Really? And like you said, that's the thing. That's why I keep talking about it. People who don't play football, it's hard to go coach some football players. I told somebody football is close to the military. It's the only sport that's close to the military. Hockey maybe, but that's the only thing you can compare football to is being in the military. And you can't get someone who has not gone to war to coach up warriors. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And so I think that's really, really important for these owners to understand. These analytics folks, you got to understand these analytics. The will to survive, the analytics cannot measure that. And the will to win, analytics cannot measure that. And so people who are listening to this chat, when you go to, I got my MBA in grad school. I understand analytics, and that is not the end all be all. And so just please, as folks, when you're doing your jobs, you're making decisions, make decisions based off analytics, but go by your gut, go by what you know. Please hire people who go by what they know, not off of analytics. Sorry, Jake, I should have gone on that tangent, bro, but it's important.
Could have said better, because here's the deal. That's always how I felt about baseball. Like, I played baseball. It's about feel. Yeah. But analytics are a nice tool. But when you overdo it, just like I eat healthy. Yeah, well, if you eat too much healthy food, there is such a thing as too much. Yeah, there's too much anything. So that's the thing is, like, if you use analytics too much, then it's too much, and it hurts you. So yeah, no, I agree. And there's such a thing called information overload, and it causes you to get anxiety and do the wrong things. And it happens in sports, and we've seen it. But Seattle, I don't think they're going to go analytics with this one. I think they're going to go with feel. I think they're going to go with the guy who's been there, done that. Needs to get over the hump of the Super Bowl, but went to a Super Bowl. I'm going to say they go with Dan Quinn. It sounds like they're going to go with him. He was there, defensive coordinator, went to the Falcons, led them to a Super Bowl. He gets a lot of flack, but
the chat ain't rock. Some of them ain't rocking with him in the chat.
Yeah, I get it. I do. I think, he's not straight off his firing. Because I think that he was a guy that, like, we've seen that in the past, right? We've seen guys get fired and then get, rehired as the head coach. Well, one guy in particular, whose name is escaping me, the Colts head coach that got fired and went to the Panthers. Frank Reich. But yeah, I mean, we've seen that, and Dan Quinn didn't get hired right away. So he's kind of stale right now, right? People are just kind of they're coming off a blowout, right? Like, where nothing went right. But I mean, the Dolphins, good Lord, the Cowboys, Dallas, that Dallas defense, for me, like, I don't ever think that they were elite. I think they were overrated, but they were a good defense. And I thought he coached well, and he has coached well. And so, I think for me, I give Dan Quinn another shot. Familiarity with Seattle. Yeah. I think you bring him in, you give him a shot. And again, if it doesn't work, there's going to be more and more head coaches. And there's a big head coach that I'm going to say does not get a job. So spoiler alert, I don't have Bobby Slowick going to the Titans. I think Slowick is this year's Ben Johnson, where Ben Johnson stayed, right? Oh, well, we had this and that. The Texans are probably going to fall in the next round. If not, they're not going to the Super Bowl. I really don't feel like they're going to the Super Bowl. They just are missing a few pieces. They're so far ahead of schedule, though. It's such a nice story.
The chat going crazy.
But I'm going to say this right now. I think Slowick is going to stay, just like Ben Johnson stayed with the Lions. And I think Slowick is going to get a job next year. And so to me, like, personally, I don't think Dan Quinn is the best candidate, but I feel like that's where they're going, If I'm Seattle, I'm hiring Vrabel yesterday.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Dan Quinn, I think someone said in the chat here, he's a great coordinator, not a great head coach. I tend to agree with him on that. I think I'm just looking at the NFLPA report card here. Aaron Glenn. We talk about Ben Johnson. Will Ben Johnson be there? Will Aaron Glenn be there? Jake, when I say they hurt the Rams, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp there. I mean, Puka Nacua, they're trying to take his soul. And then who was it? Tyler Higbee snapped his ACL. Jake, that tackle with Higbee, that hit that was put on them, you know, it's a dangerous hit. And that defense has a mentality. They have an attitude. Aaron Glenn, what about him?
Yeah, they have an attitude, all right.
And then what about Steve Wilkes, right, from the 49ers? What does that look like? These guys are outstanding. And then Brian Flores, Minnesota Vikings. You got to give these guys opportunities. You know, there's Dan Quinn is, like I said, a great coordinator. I listed a lot of great coordinators, Raheem Morris as well. Give someone else an opportunity. Give someone else a chance to show what they have, man. Like I said, Dan Quinn, great coordinator, but get somebody out there who's played the game before and that deserves an opportunity to be a head coach somewhere. Well, I don't know what you think on that.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. I do think
Aaron Glenn is overdue in all caps.
I mean, then again, you know, their pass defense is giving up just about as many yards as the the Commanders. So, you know, and I love that you threw those in there. The targeting, like clearly and the snapping of the knee and.
Yeah, it wasn't great, bro. We can talk about that later. It wasn't great.
No, there was essence of what gate.
I was pissed off that game, but like I said, we'll talk about that later.
I felt the what gate. I felt essence of that. But anyway, so I think if Seattle goes with anyone, I would go with Mike Vrabel. That's what I would do. I would go with Mike Vrabel. If I'm Seattle. And then I think the Titans.
It's our last one here.
Yeah, I you know what? Titans, I'm going to go with Mike McDonald. Look, I think Wink Martindale was fantastic. Okay, he was fantastic with the Giants. He was fantastic with the Ravens. But to see a defensive coordinator come in and, there's no traces, like Wink Martindale's gone. To see him come in and have that defense still playing at that level with Mike McDonald and be that leader for that defense, I was really impressed. Guys like Anthony Weaver, who will probably follow him, who are getting head coaching interviews, they'll probably follow him. I think Mike McDonald is going to be a head coach. And, I think going to the Titans, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I like him going to the Titans. The Titans are going to have a new stadium too. So, they get a new head coach. I'm trying to find nice things to say because I don't know how the hell that you fire Vrabel. I got to be honest with you. I think it's really stupid.
Something must have happened. Something must have happened up there that we don't know about. Yeah.
But I like Mike McDonald. I like him a lot. Young defensive minded, but I feel like he's going to translate well to being a leader of men. And that's the most important thing. Do not let the offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator stats fool you. Guys either lead or they don't. It's no different than a 9-to-5 job where you have this guy that keeps going up the rungs. And when he gets to that one rung and now he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, that's what that is. Natural leadership is natural. Okay. You either have it or you don't. Yeah. And if you can't lead men, you shouldn't be a head coach. I don't care if your offense was number one in the league when you're a coordinator or your defense was number one in the league when you were a defensive coordinator. The fact of the matter is that you either have it or you don't. And so you can only do so much, and promotions are nice, but promotions aren't always they're not always opportunities. Sometimes they're exposés on the fact that you can't do the job.
Dang. Hey, you said a word there, my brother. You said a word there. And Jake, one thing I would say is you talk about being a leader of men, not leader of men. I think that's the most important part here as a head coach. We want a head coaches who are leaders of men, former players. What does that look like? And I'm thinking about in my mind, coach who is one of the coach for the Patriots, offensive coordinator, he used to be a head coach at Penn State. I think the Texans as well. And he was screaming at Mac Jones. And then Alabama game comes for the college football playoffs, and the quarterback for Alabama's like, yeah. And this coach said this about me. He said, I'll never be a quarterback, blah, blah, blah. Look at me now. Coaches like that, I'm pointing my finger, Jake. I don't point my finger a lot, but that's not a leader of men. I can't think of his name right now. Folks know who I'm talking about. And it's probably good that I won't say his name, but that's not a leader of men. That's a person who's hurt. When they say hurt people. And if you're an asshole to someone on the sideline, people can see that as a fan. You're not a leader of men. And so my thing is, Jake, for this Titans job, I think when we talk about a leader of men, Mike Vrabel, he's a leader of men, and to replace those shoes is tough. So I'm going to go down this list a little bit, Jake, here for some of the offense coordinators that we haven't really talked about. Thomas Brown, Brian Schottenheimer from the Cowboys, Brian Callahan from the Bengals. We talked about Kellen Moore as well. why not give some of those guys a job, an opportunity as well, right? We have some young quarterbacks and Will Levis. Their quarterback situation is a little bit different. So we need someone who can walk Will Levis through and say, hey, you're growing. You have a hell of an arm, son, right? The mayonnaise in your coffee is a hell of a thing. But hey, let's do this. Like let's lock arms and do this. Maybe Kellen Moore, coming from Justin Herbert, say, hey, Justin did this. I think you should do this. But they need to figure out. Oh, Bill O'Brien. Thank you, Steve Green. Bill O'Brien. Like I said, I don't want to call folks' name out like Stephen A. Smith did. Stephen A. Smith got on the camera and he was like, "You SOB." I don't want to do that. But that experience, that feeling is the same because, bro, when you got players talking about you, and Jake, it was a national championship game. He was talking about Bill O'Brien. I'm like, Bill O'Brien? And that's how mad he was. And so when I hear stuff like that as a former player, I can't stand it. And I don't want to play for nobody like that. And so Bill O'Brien, we don't need to hire coaches like that for the Titans. And so my thing is, like I said, get someone who can develop Will Levis and develop that team so they can win football games. So that's my thought. I know I went on a little rant there, but Bill O'Brien got me hot, bro. See, Jake. See.
The button chin, man. They should call him the Crimson Chin. Man. No, I'm with you. I wouldn't hire him. All right, I'm gonna go through because you had a list, and we'll wrap this up here. But I'm gonna go through your list of the top 5 guys and who I would hire and who I wouldn't. Mm-hmm. Steve Wilks, I think, deserves another shot. Guy had 1 year with Arizona and was cast off. So I didn't like that. Brian Flores, come on. Brian Flores never should have lost his job. We'll just say that.
They want him to lose games at the dog. Like they want him to lose games. Like what kind of stuff is that, bro? Sorry.
Yeah. Aaron Glenn, I don't know too much about, admittedly. Based on just like what I've seen.
Hey, I know. I felt that. Well, I know Aaron Glenn after that game. I know him after that game.
I mean, like the defense. I don't know. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see more production from the defense. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'll say this. I didn't like the way Aubrey Pleasant was scapegoated at the beginning of at the middle of last year. So they made it all about, our corners are, our secondary is bad. It's all Aubrey Pleasant's fault. So you fire Aubrey Pleasant in the middle of the season. He goes to the Packers as an offensive assistant. And then, what do you know? The next year, Aubrey Pleasant's gone. Wasn't he the problem? Nope. Your secondary is just bad. And, the common denominator, Aaron Glenn is there, just like last year. So that's how I look at it. And he was not done well. I'll tell you that right now. He was not done well over there. And it's funny because there was that play or that one clip with him going in on Jeff Okudah. They didn't end up bringing Jeff Okudah back. So like who's really the problem? Because both those guys are gone and that secondary is somehow even worse than last year. But anyway, Raheem Morris was on that list. 100% would, vouch for him. Frank Smith, I really admittedly don't know too much about, and he's not calling the plays in Miami because of Mike McDaniel. So I'm not sure about that either. But then, you look at like Brian Schottenheimer. I don't know. I don't think he's done enough to be a head coach, to be honest with you. Brian Callahan's very intriguing with the Cincinnati Bengals. That's somebody I'm going to be, keeping an eye on. Kellen Moore, I think give him some time, but I think he could be. John Fossil's interesting because John Fossil had a chance to be the interim head coach in 2016.
Yeah.
And him personally.
Love him. One of my favorite coaches in the league. I'm sorry. I'm biased.
So, but you had him in the 2016 season. So you had a chance to see him as the head coach. What did you think when he took over as the interim head coach? Like, did he look ready yet?
He knew what the hell he was doing.
Yeah, okay.
But that's okay, though. I think we talk about growth. I think you mentioned that, right? You get to a point, you don't know what you're doing, and that's okay. He went back to being a special teams coordinator, and he's number 1 on the players list again. And that's the thing is, one thing about John Fossil, he's willing to be humble, open, and transparent. He's willing to say, hey, Jeff Fisher's gone. I don't know how to do this. I'm just the best leader of men here. And I'm the best leader of men. I have 3 girls. I'm the best guy ever. And I'm the head coach now, and I'm actually have to step up and do my best. And so John Fossil, I think I'm sure now, Jake, he knows how to head coach. He has that experience. He saw it. He said, "Ooh, I didn't do that well. Well, let me just tweak this. Well, I'm a coordinator. Let me tweak this." And Jake, I think he's going to the Hall of Fame as a coach one day. he will go into the Hall of Fame one day as a special teams coach or something, Jay, because he's that special. So, like I said, he's number one on the players report card from the NFLPA. I don't need to say more. The players have. He is that guy.
And do you think he could be a head coach again someday? Do you think like he's done enough? Because I mean, that was a while ago.
Yeah, I think he needs another shot. I think other folks have shots. I think he needs another shot, and I think he needs to hire other coaches that have been head coaches, number one, and also have been offensive coordinators, like a Wade Phillips. If he hires them as a head coach, John Fossil all the way. We need him to, all the way.
Yeah. And then, to wrap it up here, Chris Tabor on Carolina. I've heard great things about him. I don't know him personally, but I've heard great things about him. So, there's that. Matt Daniels, the former Rams safety drafted out of Duke, was with he was with Bones, and he went over to the Vikings to be the special teams coordinator. Keep an eye on him. He's another one of those really, quick as a whip, very smart coaches, and I've heard great things about him. David Phipp with the Lions, and then Darren Reese with the Saints. So those are the guys, the top 5 for each spot, on that list. So
from the players,
yeah, the players vote on it. So interesting stuff. I think Thomas Brown at some point will get a shot as well. Last year was just a horrible circumstance, and I'm not going to blame him too much. We did forget about Bieniemy. I think he's going to stick around Raheem Morris. I think Raheem Morris would bring him back with the Commanders.
The leader of men thing is my question for Bieniemy. That's the only thing is I don't know his personality. I don't think he's a nice guy. I keep hearing I don't think he's nice. Sorry, but it just
flat out came out. And said
it. I just gotta be nice, but I don't think he's nice. I think he has to work on some things himself beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, I do think I'll give him credit. I thought he put Sam Howell in good opportunities, and I don't know how it's not easy to work with Patrick Mahomes, because this is somebody that just does everything off script. So it's like, man, what the hell, man? I call this play, and you're not even,
Steve Kerr does it. Sorry, Steve Kerr does it. I mean, that's the toughest thing to do. Is like, Steph, championship. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but some guys respond okay to that, and some guys don't. Maybe he's one of the guys that don't, but anyway, this has been a banger of an episode.
One of our best episodes, guys. Thanks for guys and gals, thanks for hanging out, man. This is great.
Yeah, really enjoyed this. Appreciate you guys. Great audience. Appreciate the comments. You guys are awesome. Be sure to follow me at JK Bogan on all social media. You can follow Cameron Lynch at Cameron Lynch 50. You can follow us on the Bleacher Report app. So do that.
We went a little long. We went a little long today, Jake. We went for an hour, but y'all stuck with us, so we're grateful. I mean, that's hearts up, man. We had a lot to say. It's a playoff, so we really appreciate y'all hanging out with us. And hopefully, and feel free to share, tweet at us, let us know, hey, what you said kind of hurt my feelings, or it's not right. Tweet at us, bro, because we want to get better. We want to get better. We want to deliver y'all some great stuff. So don't be shy. Please.
Absolutely. And again, special thanks to Bleacher Report as always for having us. We're off the edge and we are out. You guys take care. We'll see you guys soon. Later, folks.
Peace.